All right, Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Just we will start with a little bit of housekeeping notes to everyone. Number one, we seek your kind cooperation to mute your audio and switch off your camera as soon as you gain access to the webinar session in order to avoid interference and interruption. Number two, Q&A session will be held via chat feature throughout the webinar, but however, if time permits, you will be allowed to post questions directly. So you can unmute yourself and switch on your camera so you can post your questions directly to the speaker at the end of this webinar session. And participants are not allowed to intervene during the speaker's sharing session. And then all your questions, comments, or feedback on the chat feature will be either directly answered by the speaker at the end of the webinar session or on chat feature by the speaker or himself, and then or through email post-webinar. Number three, for our documentation purposes, this webinar session will be recorded. At the beginning of the webinar, we will soon would like to request all of you to switch on your camera, and we will have a snapshot photo of everyone attending this webinar for our official record and reporting. Number four, there will be pop quiz 2. This is only for the registered youth participants. There will be pop quiz 2 of the Q&A session, and all participants must answer all 15 multiple choice questions, just similar to the quiz 1 that you have had before last week. And then an e-certificate participation will be emailed to you. Both certificate 1 and 2 will be emailed to you post-webinar session as per your submission on the attendance and feedback form. So please don't forget to fill up pop quiz 1, pop quiz 2, and then attendance and feedback form, and another one for the registered participants will have to fill up the post self-assessment form. There will be 3 compulsory documents that you have to fill up at the end of this webinar for the registered youth participants. Okay, for our observers, you are most welcome to try out the pop quiz, and attendance, but not compulsory for the post self-assessment form. Yeah. Then last but not least, please also be informed that your participation, engagement, performance in pop quizzes at the end of each webinar and execution of the mini individual project on sustainable lifestyle, which will be briefed soon, will be evaluated by our secretariat members of the SDG Challenge 2021. Okay. All right, we will proceed with our webinar series 2. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning to our speakers, observers, and most importantly, our youth participants of the SDG Challenge 2021. So welcome to all of you from Webinar Series 1 participants. So once again, my name is Fadli. I'm Research Officer of the MCAS and Project Co-Leader of the SDG Challenge 2021. So last week we had 4 speakers with us, and for this second series we have another 4 prominent speakers, I would say. So on behalf of Community and Sustainability Center, UMCAS, Regional Center of Expertise of Central Semenanjung on Education for Sustainable Development, and Sustainable Development Solutions Network, SDSN, and as well as on behalf of my co-leaders, Mr. Affan, which is our speaker for today, and as well as Ms. Mairuz. Please allow us to congrats once again all our participants in this year's challenge. So let us recap. We have chosen the theme for this year's would be Sustainable Lifestyle for a Sustainable Campus and School, the pivotal role of youth, because we sincerely believe that youth play a crucial role to be the change maker for a better, safer, and sustainable Malaysia, as well as the earth. So please allow me to share again the walkthrough of our SDG Youth Challenge 2021 in order for you to complete this journey with us. Okay. Number 1, you have attended the webinar series 1 and complete the attendance form and pop quiz 1. Yeah, we had it last week. Then number 2, you're about to do it, and you're about to complete it today to attend webinar series 2 and complete the attendance form and pop quiz 2, and as well as the post self-assessment form. Okay. And then number 3, to conduct mini individual sustainable lifestyle project with your family or with your friends, and you need to record all your findings and strategies. We will brief you soon, okay, about this. And then the last but not least will be 10 out of 70 participants has already proceeded to this second round would be chosen as our speakers for October's 2021's mini youth symposium on sustainable lifestyle. Okay, you would be our speakers for next month. So without further delay, please allow me to briefly introduce all our 4 speakers of this webinar series 2. So in this webinar series 2, we will feature speaker number 1. We have Dr. Sarah Abdul Razak from Faculty of Science UM, Institute of Biological Sciences. She will share with us on topic the importance of biodiversity and greening tips. So Dr. Sarah is a botanist in the field of forest ecology and biodiversity conservation. She has devoted her passion and commitment to biodiversity for about 15 years. So involving not only research works related to biodiversity and conservation, also community works involving citizen science projects. So presently, she's the principal researcher of a research project named the Rimba Project 2.0 of the Living Labs Grant Program, which is now under the patronage of the Community and Sustainability Center, Cares, Mr. Maya. The Rimba Project 2.0 activities focus on biodiversity and conservation and emphasizing on the relation of carbon sequestration and climate change mitigation, also capacity building for citizen science and conservation. So without further delay, I will hand it over to our first speaker, Dr. Sarah Abdul Razak. The floor is yours.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Malia. I was muted just now. Can you guys hear my voice now?
Yes.
Is my voice clear?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I think I shall share my screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
All right.
But, yeah.
All right. It's better.
Yep.
Okay. Right. So shall I start now? Okay. Hi everyone. Good morning. Assalamualaikum. And I'm Dr. Sarah from the Institute of Biological Sciences, Faculty of Science, Muslim Malaya. I'm a lecturer and also a researcher, and my expertise is in forest ecology and biodiversity conservation. So because of that, today I would like to share with you guys about the importance of biodiversity and a bit on greening tips. And yeah, so let's go to the next slide. So I think since last week, most of you guys are already familiar of what is Sustainable Development Goals. I'm not going to discuss this in detail with you guys, but because I know that last week some of the speakers have discussed on energy, on transportation, and on climate change. So for my part, I will focus more on biodiversity, which is the SDG that is related to biodiversity is SDG 15, which is the one that we call life on land. All right. So let us focus on that only, SDG 15. So yeah, this slide shows the Sustainable Development Goals report in 2020 and 2021. So this report presents an overview of progress towards the SDGs before the pandemic started. But not just that, it also looks at some of the severe initial impacts of COVID-19 on specific goals and targets. So the SDG report, this report was prepared by the United Nations Development the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs in collaboration with over 200 experts from more than about 40 international agencies using the latest available data and estimates. So they come up with these facts as shown in the slides. So what is actually the goal here for SDG 15? Yeah? So the goal is to sustainably manage the forest, okay, and to combat desertification and reverse land degradation and biodiversity loss. Why? Why does this SDG 15 decided to focus on these points? Okay, let's take an example of a forest. Yeah, forest. So forests cover nearly 31% of our planet's land area. From the air we breathe, to the water we drink, to the food we eat, forests sustain us. And forests are home to more than 80% of all terrestrial species of animals, plants, and insects. However, biodiversity is declining faster than at any other time in human history. So globally, 1/5 of the Earth's land area, which is more than about 2 billion hectares of area, are degraded. So can you imagine that? It is an area that is nearly the size of India and the Russian Federation combined. So so land degradation is undermining the well-being of some 3.2 billion people, driving species to extinction and intensifying climate change. So, but do you guys actually realize that biodiversity and its ecosystem services can also be the basis for climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction strategies, as they can deliver benefits. And actually, biodiversity and its ecosystem services can deliver benefits that will increase the resilience of people to the impacts of climate change. So talking about that, what is actually biodiversity? And like I mentioned just now, ecosystem services, right? So let us talk about what is biodiversity itself first in this slide. So from this, just from these colorful pictures, you can already, I think, guess what is actually biodiversity. So bio means life, and diversity means variety. So biodiversity or biological diversity is the incredible variety of living things in nature and how they interact with each other. It's one of the world's most precious treasures. And as shown in the slide, biodiversity consists of all the many species of animals. We can see animals here, we can see plants, including fungi. Can you see fungi here in the slide? And microorganism, of course, you cannot see any microorganism in this slide, and other life forms, and the variety that exists within each species. So it also includes the diversity present in an ecosystem, or also known as the variation we see in the environment. You can see here in this picture itself, you can see there's many variation, right, in the picture. So in which this variation in environment is an ecosystem, which includes landscape, okay, the plants and the animals present in it, and the various ways in which these components interact with each other. So that is a definition of biodiversity and its ecosystem. So yeah, let's move to the next slide, shall we? So yeah, we are getting more serious now. Every day, as you guys already know, every day we are faced with choices, right? We have to make choices in our everyday life. It is up to us to make the best choice in our life, right? As individuals, we must decide what to eat, what to wear, how to get to school and universities, who to love. Yeah, don't be surprised. Are you choosing who to love actually does have an indirect impact to biodiversity. Who to love, not necessarily your boyfriend or girlfriend. It can be your family, your siblings, and your friends. Meaning that, for example, when you choosing to love someone, it is your choice in to relate the kind of relationship with the environment. Like for example, as simple like going for a picnic together in a forest, like enjoying the aesthetic views of the forest. That is an example. So it's a choice. It's your choice. So some of these choices that you have made can impact biodiversity. You must realize that those choices can have an impact to biodiversity, the variety of life on Earth. So sometimes our choices have positive impacts to the biodiversity. For instance, when we decide to use biodiversity sustainably or to protect it better. And increasingly nowadays, however, unfortunately, many of our actions are actually giving negative consequences to the biodiversity. In fact, human activities, okay, which is our activities, are the main cause of biodiversity loss, right? So what is actually biodiversity loss? And why is it such a big problem? Biodiversity loss, on other words, is the death of our ecosystem. We are already currently experiencing biodiversity loss, right? At the moment, it is estimated that in the last 5 decades, we've lost more than 60% of the Earth's biodiversity. So the negative impacts of our actions have become so great that we are losing biodiversity more quickly now than at any other time in Earth's recent history. So the current rate of biodiversity loss has led many to suggest that the Earth is currently experiencing a 6 major extinction event. So greater than that has happened before, which was, if you guys can remember, the extinction of the dinosaurs, right? So however, unlike past extinction events, which were caused by natural disasters, but this one, the extinction that we are facing now is being driven by human actions, which is by us, right? So as you can see in the slides, also there are many causes on the right bottom of the slides. It shows the many causes of biodiversity loss. For example, climate change, deforestation, deforestation, climate change, pollution, overfishing, and hunting. So I'm not going to discuss every causes. I'm just going to pick a few that I think might interest you and might be important for you to know, right? So firstly, of course, is climate change. Nowadays, people have been talking about climate change there, climate change here. So do you guys really know what is meant by climate change? I'm just going to give you a big definition of climate change. Climate change is the changes experienced by the Earth as a result of actions that are usually negative due to human greed. So examples of the impact of climate change on Earth is like the very well-known global warming as a result of the increase in the world temperature. So this, what happens is that this global warming, it causes the ice at the North and the South Pole to melt and causes the volume of seawater to increase, and which in turn increase sea level. So this increasing of sea level actually poses many problems, especially to the biodiversity in the coastal areas. For example, it causes coastal erosion, right? So changes in the climate can happen naturally over millions of years. Just look at the end of the last ice age. So this time though, climate change has been the result of human intervention. So rapid man-made climate change speeds up the process, without affording ecosystem and species a time to adapt. Right? So it's happening too quickly, and species or biodiversity can't adapt quickly enough, and many are not able to cope. So what happens is that they are dying out, right? So the next one is deforestation. So deforestation is a direct cause of extinction and the loss of biodiversity. And estimated about 18 million of acres of forests are lost each year due to logging and other human practices. It destroys the ecosystem on which many biodiversity depends. For example, tropical rainforest. I'm sure now you guys realize that I hope everyone knows that we are in a tropical country. So when we are in a tropical country, we have what we call, our forests are called tropical rainforest. All right. So tropical rainforest is as such as, for example, another one. We have another tropical rainforest named a very well-known one named Amazon rainforest in Brazil. So tropical rainforests hold a high percentage of the world's known species, or in other words, it has a very high biodiversity. And yet the region themselves are in decline due to, like I said just now, due to human. So when we cut down the forest, for example, or claim the forest land for agricultural purposes, we are actually destroying unique ecosystems that we can't find anywhere and can't exist anywhere else once it is lost, right? So the third causes that I would like to discuss with you guys today of the loss of biodiversity loss is due to pollution. So, for example, garbage that is dumped into the water supply, chemical runoff from industrial, and air pollution from cars and factories, all will have a negative impacts to the biodiversity. From the burning of fossils, which release dangerous chemicals into the atmosphere, and some cases depleting ozone levels, and to dumping about around 19 billion pounds of plastic into the ocean every year. So pollution completely disrupts the Earth ecosystem. And the last one, the last causes that I would like to discuss today is overhunting, overfishing, and overharvesting, which contribute hunting for animals for profit. Hello?
I don't think maybe your line is a bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe you can reshare the screen again.
All right, should I share the screen now again?
Yep.
Right. But just now when I talk, can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, but then it's just seems like frozen a bit. Yeah.
All right. Let me share the slide. All right. So can you guys see my slide again?
Yep.
All right. Also sorry for the technical glitch. So where was I just now? I think overexploitation, overhunting, overfishing, and overharvesting, right? So for example, overharvesting, like hunting for profit, increase the risk of extinction of biodiversity, and including the climate change and deforestation. So all of this puts a big pressure on biodiversity, and often they occur at the same time in the same ecosystem or environment. So it's very worrying. Okay, so next slide, I'm going to focus on what is ecosystem. We've talked about just now what is biodiversity. We've talked about what is biodiversity, what are the loss, biodiversity loss, and what causes biodiversity loss, or in other words, what are the threats. So now we are focusing on what is ecosystem and its ecosystem service. I believe that not many of you guys have heard about what is ecosystem services before, so I'm so excited to discuss this with you guys today. So firstly, talking about ecosystem, what is an ecosystem? So an ecosystem can be considered as the house where biodiversity lives in terms of the physical location, all right? The physical location, the home for biodiversity, and the interactions that occur within the space or within the home. Okay, so that is what we call ecosystem. And an ecosystem is usually made up of physical and chemical and living factors, or in other words, the scientific words is abiotic and biotic factors. So for example, we have rocks, we have air, water, those are physical or chemical factors. And while plants, animals, and microorganisms are living factors, right? So in the same way that humans live in communities, so are the animals. We live in a community, so are the animals, plants, and even microorganisms. They live in a community, and where communities of plants and animals, they live together and share their space, their land, and their climate, they form an ecosystem. So ecosystems are what many people call the environment or nature. In other words, for ecosystem, some people call it the environment or the nature. That is one of the famous word for ecosystem, well-known word for ecosystem. So we have many kinds of ecosystem on Earth, all right? So we have like an ecosystem can be as small as a pond or a lake or puddles, even puddles, or it can be as large as a forest and wetlands, mountains, oceans, all right? So one wonderful quality of an ecosystem is their delicate balance, right? The abiotic and biotic factors that interact with each other in such a way that all components of the ecosystem give and take. They give and take in just enough from each other and in just the right way. And to keep the ecosystem, they do this to keep the ecosystem healthy, right? So this giving and taking allows the ecosystem to provide different types of services of what we call the ecosystem services to the environment. So biodiversity doesn't simply exist. They didn't exist without reasons, all right? They has a function. Biodiversity has a function or purpose. So ecosystem provide things that human benefits from and depend on. So these things are called ecosystem goods and services and include the natural resources and process that maintain the condition for life on Earth. So these ecosystem services provide direct and also indirect benefits. So what are ecosystem services and why do we need ecosystem services? What are the impact? What are some practical examples of why they are vital to humans and nature? So ecosystem services are the services and benefits that the ecosystem gives to the environment, of which humans are a part of the environment. So in other words, ecosystem services is the benefits that human gets, right? The benefits that human gets from the ecosystem. So that's what we call ecosystem services. So there are 4 types of ecosystem services that we have shown in this slide. So the first one that I'm going to discuss is what we call provisioning services. So provisioning services these services are products that we obtain from ecosystem. For example, the food, the fresh water, and the genetic resources that we obtain from the ecosystems are what we call provisioning services by the ecosystem. So the next one is regulating. This one, regulating services. So regulating services are involved in climate regulation and disease control, erosion control, pollination, and regulation of any natural processes such as floods and forest fires. That's what we call regulating services. All right. So the third one is cultural services. Okay, so ecosystem services, they not only provide concrete things like food to us or essential services such as water filtration, something like that, yeah, but they also provide us with spiritual, recreational, and cultural benefits. So for example, ecosystem provide a rich source of inspiration for art, right? If you love art, so you can get this kind of services from the ecosystem, right? And architecture, or even like in advertising. So that is what we call cultural services by the ecosystem. And the last one that I would like to discuss today is supporting services. So supporting these services, they maintain the condition for life on Earth. They are necessary for the production of all other ecosystem services. Okay, so their impacts on people are either direct or indirect, and it occurs at a very long time. So in contrast, changes in the other three categories have relatively direct and short-term impacts on people. Example of supporting services are what we call nutrient cycling, soil formation, and habitat provision. So these are what we call supporting services. So yeah, back to the question just now, why should we pay attention to ecosystem services? So as we have seen, a balanced and a healthy ecosystem will provide important ecosystem services. They are important, and they are not only that, they are giving us clean air, water, soil, and food, and protecting us from floods and diseases, but also for providing us with a beautiful landscape in which to live. And ecosystem services are also vital to the short and long-term survival and health of ecosystem, of which we have discussed earlier. It is the home for biodiversity. So what's happening now is human activity is putting ecosystem in danger, in which in turn means that this ecosystem cannot provide us with ecosystem services. So what exactly does this mean to us, and what can we do to help to maintain, to take care of the ecosystem and biodiversity? Before I go to that, next slide, you can see on the right side of this slide is the mangrove forest. So mangrove forest, if any of you guys haven't known yet, is one of a type of forest that exists in the marine environment. Marine environment meaning that, for example, we can find a lot of mangrove forests in the coastal area. And the coastal area, means tepi pantai. Okay, so if you go to the beach, and if you can see a trees or a plant, most probably is a part or really a mangrove forest, right? So mangrove forest is well known for its very important ecosystem services to human. For example, in medicinal, they have been used for generations. So the trees has been used for medicinal purposes. Yeah, and the dense root system helps prevent destruction from hurricanes. You guys still can remember we have tsunami did happen like years ago. I think you guys are still a baby at that time, maybe. So I was in my university days. So it happened. It was a very big disaster to us, unfortunate events. But actually, do you guys know that at that time, mangrove forests play a big role in protecting the coastal areas from tsunami. So in some part of the world, which have the existence of mangrove forests in their coastal areas, the location has a low impact. The destruction is lower from the tsunami as compared to others. So this is the examples how the mangrove forests prevent destruction from hurricanes, tsunamis, and large storms. Because why? Because they have a very dense and very strong root system. Okay, so they also provide shelter and food for the fish, right? For the fish, and also for coral reef. Coral reef can't exist without the help of a mangrove forest indirectly. So yeah, and of course, because they are plants, they convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. So this is one of the example of an ecosystem, which is the mangrove forest, which give a very important ecosystem services to us, right? To us humans. So yeah. So back to the question just now, what exactly does this mean to us, and what can we do to help in maintaining and protect biodiversity ecosystem? So now you guys have learned about the importance of biodiversity, the threats to biodiversity and its ecosystem services, right? So next is to get ready to take action on the issues that matter most to you. Young people around the world are leading, for example, some young people are leading successful projects to protect and restore the ecosystem, the biosphere. So now it's your turn to take action, all right? To learn some, sorry, I just had my breakfast. So, yeah, so to learn some simple steps that you can take that will help to ensure that the world's biological resources are protected for future generations. So as a youth, so what can you do as a youth, all right? In your own individual part of the world to help protect biodiversity. What can you do to start reversing the damage that we've done to the earth? So, so this slide shows some of the examples. So I'm going to focus on what we call a greener life. So in these uncertain times, yeah, nature can help sustain us, right? So we must also have the responsibility to sustain the nature. So the slide given shows what are the things that we can do to help on addressing biodiversity loss by practicing greening activities in our daily life to live a greener life. So let's go through one by one a bit. In this slide on the left side, it shows, so it shows the, right. So it shows the 5 ways towards a greener life, right? So the first one is drinking directly from tap water. Yeah. Why? Because when we buy water, we actually buying a plastic water bottles, right? So this plastic bottle, they can contaminate the river, and they can be a source of garbage. So we try to avoid buying bottles, especially plastics one. So instead, we just drink directly from tap water, all right? And that's another way to live a greener life is to take a shower using less water. Because by using less water, we save money on heating it. All right, that's another reason. And also, if you have a bike, get on your bike, because besides fresh air is good for your health and the planet's, it can also contribute in less carbon dioxide produced to the environment, right? So the fourth one is have a meat-free day. So yes, because the the animals, what we call is the meat that we get is actually it involves water. The water that we use a lot of water, right, for these productions of beef or meat, and clearing of the land to provide pasture. So this is all can contribute to deforestation, and in other words, biodiversity loss. So the fifth one is eat what you buy, and avoid in throwing away eatable food. All right, because all of this, if you have how to say, if you throw away lots of food, it can contribute to the pollution, right? So I'm also going to focus on, because right now we are MCO, so we are actually have lots of time at home, so we have we can do some of the things that we call green handy tips, right? Greening tips that, for example, I want to focus on this one, planting native plants. All right, planting native plants often require less water, and then when you plant a native plant, what does it mean by native plants? It's plants that can live, can strive in its environment as compared to other plants. So when it can live successfully in an environment, because it is the native of the environment, we don't really need bug spray or pesticides, all right? Because they can strive happily in the environment. They don't really need our help. So we can indirectly avoid using pesticides or things like that. And yeah, and also by planting trees, you add more greens to your house environment. It is a good and super green idea. It connects you to the eco-friendly side while making the house look great. And if you're a minimalist, you can try to decorate your house with plants, and you will find out that how easy it is, can raise your mood. It can raise its mood pretty quickly. So yeah, that is another actions that can be done, another tips that can be done, what we call it a greening tips. So yeah, so biodiversity is very important to us, and whether they are plants, animals, or even as small as microscopic organisms. So they are vital to keep the earth healthy, balanced, and thriving. So in other words, biodiversity ensures natural sustainability for all life on the planet. That is actually one of the main reasons why biodiversity also plays a big role in the Sustainability Development Goals, which is the SDG. So though biodiversity loss is occurring at a rapid rate, examples from all over the world show that people are actually beginning to make choices and take actions that benefit biodiversity. However, we need
Nara, you still there?
yeah.
It's frozen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My line is really bad. So, okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, can you see my slide?
Yep.
All right, sorry. All right, thank you. So, So together we can take many actions to raise our own awareness and that of others of the importance of healthy ecosystem. And we can start by taking a small actions like this one, but a small but significant actions, right? Small but significant. And whatever you decide to do, make sure that you apply your learning about healthy ecosystem to your daily actions, right? So as a young biodiversity champion, you can help other youth to reflect and get inspired to start their own action project. So this is one of the reasons, but this is one. Sorry, I should show my slide. All right. So this is an example of how you can contribute to preventing biodiversity loss by for example by this kind of webinar. For example, you can initiate a webinar or joining a webinar regarding environment. For example, the Rimba Project 2.0, we are going to have a webinar on the 30th of October. So of which our speakers will be Lee Kai-Sian, Alia Farhana, and Lee Jianyou. So the three of them was actually the ecology and biodiversity student from University of Malaya, Faculty of Science, University of Malaya. So they have graduated, and they are one of the people who have been with loving biodiversity for years in their life. They've been learning about biodiversity at least 4 years in University of Malaya about ecology and biodiversity. So what they are going to do is they are going to share their experience, their thoughts on biodiversity around University Malaya. So if you're interested to know the backyard of University Malaya, for example, the monkey in UM, the Museum of Zoology collections of Rimba Ilmu, and the Rimba Ilmu Botanical Garden itself, please do join us in this webinar. And you can find out about this more in Rimba Project 2.0 Facebook page and IG pages. And actually Lee Jianyou is the Rimba Project 2.0 project officer. So you can also contact him directly, or you can contact me directly regarding this matter. So okay, so that is actually one of the actions beside greening tips, one of the actions that you can choose. We talk about choosing in life, right? Just now that you can choose to participate to increase your awareness about biodiversity and its ecosystem services. All right. So yeah. So when it comes like every time when I have a talk on biodiversity, I will say this every time. And when it comes down, we are a part of this planet, our Mother Earth. So and what we do impacts not only the world around us, but our future as well. So we each need to start doing our part to help reverse the damage we've done to global biodiversity by starting with our own self. You as a youth, you are the backbone of our country. So you should start with your own self first by choosing the right actions, all right? And yeah, so we are the ones that have made a mess to the environment and biodiversity. So we are the only ones that can clean it up. So the earth, our Mother Earth provides us with all the free charge services. So the only thing that she asks from us that we look after her in return. So yeah, thank you. That's all for my talk today.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sarah, for such an interesting and very informative sharing session. Let us recap what some of the key points that Dr. Sarah shared with us. Biodiversity is about variety. I mean, variety is a diversity of life, which is part of our ecosystem. And then we have, every day we have to make choice. whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, we are the one who will make that choice. So make sure we make the right choice and the good choice. So the Earth, it's very worrying that you share the fact that the Earth actually has lost about 50% of its wildlife in the past 40 years. And then there are 4 types of ecosystem services. That is number 1, supporting services, number 2, regulating services, 3, provisioning services, and number 4, cultural services, which include arts. So that's very interesting topic that we can maybe explore later on. And then you did mention about small action is significant. So individual play a crucial role, especially the youth, for creating a sustainable future for our Mother Earth. Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you, Fadli. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Let's move on to our second speaker, Mr. Affan Nasaruddin from Living Lab Water Warriors and Sekitar kita, which is also co-leader of Sdg Challenge 2021. Mr. Affan is actually the co-founder of Water Warriors, a Living Lab program in University Malaya, leading action-oriented and transnational research to provide sustainable water management solutions to the campus. He also co-founded Inspirasi Kawa, an environmental youth group in Kuala Selangor, focusing on river conservation. His areas of expertise are water conservation, especially on restoration of rivers and lakes, citizen science, and environmental education and sustainable innovation. He's also interested in other fields such as urban biodiversity and waste management. So together with his wife, they established a university-linked social enterprise called Sekitar kita. So I hand it over to my co-leader as well, Mr. Affan. The floor is yours.
Right. Thank you very much, Fazli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Let me just share my screen first. All right. So today I'm here to sort of like to explain and to give a reason why we should conserve water. So that's our topic for today. The secretary gave me about 30 minutes for these sessions, but I think I would like to keep it short. And also, kalau boleh, I will try to mix bahasa and English together, and I try to let's make this session a little bit lively and more interaction. So if you have any questions or just put it on the chat box so that I can answer your questions in the meantime. So a little bit introduction about Water Warriors. What is Water Warriors is all about? Actually, Water Warriors is one of the oldest and the pioneer living labs in University Malaya. Living labs meanings basically Water Warriors something like an NGO lah, lebih kurang an activist within the campus community in University Malaya. So we established in 2013. Basically this what we do. We did environmental educations, ecotourism, citizen science, green and blue developments, research. We also do community engagement and empowerment. We also do some consultation and many more. So I'm not going to explain more about Water Warriors, but if you have Facebook and Instagram, you can just like or just subscribe our page. Yeah, we are on social media, but we don't have Twitter. So okay, so everyone, semua orang dah sarapan ke? Everyone have their breakfast yet? Yes, all right. So did anyone eat nasi lemak today? No. All right. I still had. I masih tak dapat. I didn't had my breakfast yet. I think I'm quite nervous about these sessions. So this nasi lemak looks really yummy and it's very good. And without we realize, we use water every day. So when we wake up this morning, we use water. Kita pergi mandi, pergi toilet, even cooking the nasi lemak also use water. So partly we use water every single day, and without water we sort of like become crazy. Even we have this scenario where the water shortage happen, there's water cuts. Oh, we will become crazy. Oh, kenapa there's no water? It's different kind of situation if you don't have electricity or internet. So I think we use water every day, for cleaning everything and also including foods. But do you know where's your raw water come from? Pernah tak kita tahu mana sebenarnya sumber raw water kita datang? So do you know? So anyone? Oh, okay. Someone say Mr. Onzi from Sungai Langat. Anyone else? Sungai Muda. At Kuala Kubu Baru. Okay. From the sea. No, we don't have desalination plants in Malaysia. Rains. That's all here. Yeah. So basically our raw water in Malaysia comes from river. So in Malaysia, 97 our raw water come from river, and the other 3% come from groundwater. So if anyone stay in Kelantan, ada tak siapa yang stay in Kelantan? Most probably Kelantan, in Kelantan kebanyakannya akan menggunakan groundwater as their water supplies compared to other country, to other states. Oh, okay. Nur Ain asked why. Actually, the reason why Kelantan use groundwater because of their geological areas of geological areas of the Kelantan itself, because their soils and their rocks made up from alluviums. So basically, it's much cheaper to sort of like to get water from the groundwater compared to the river water supplies. And also the Kelantans have not so much infrastructure in water treatment, water plants. So that's the reason why. So in the next question, do you know which river is your raw water come from? So yeah, part of you already knows where's your rivers come from. I think you all are very educated, already knows your river, so that's good. That's because that's the first step, knowing your water supplies. So knowing your water supplies, you need to know your water address. When I say the water address, meaning like your house, you have your alamat. So basically, if you order barang from Shopee or everything, so you need an alamat to deliver. So same goes to your water. So the first thing you need to know, where's your water come from? Where's your raw water come from? So that's the most important. So basically, when you open the tap, oh, actually these waters come from Sungai Selangor or Sungai Muda or Sungai Pahang, or depends on your locations. For example, I think most, the secretary told me that most of the audience from University Malaya. So basically, for example, at University Malaya, our campus located in Kuala Lumpur, but actually our raw waters come from Sungai Selangor, which is quite far. So basically we didn't, so orang ingat kan kita ambil sungai, oh sebelah kita ada sungai, so ini dah sungai our water supplies. No, it's not that directly or that simple. Some places, like for example Kuala Lumpur, Petaling Jaya, we have the water supplies come from Sungai Selangor, which is in Kuala Selangor area, which when we drive about 45 minutes lebih kurang macam tu. Yeah, it is quite far, and it's located at different watershed. When I say different watersheds, each of us actually living in watershed areas. So watershed area is like geographical areas, whereas at these particular locations, so kalau hujan turun dekat sini, so air akan mengalir dekat sini saja. So if it's rain, it will flow to here. So if it's rain in contohnya, for example, it's rain in Lembangan Sungai Selangor, the water's going to flow here. It's not going to flow at the Sungai Kerang. So that's the concept of watershed. So basically, watershed is like a sink bowl. So if you drop the water kiri kanan, and the water is going to flow at the middle parts. So that's the concept of watershed. So everyone live in watershed areas. So yeah, when we talk about 30 years, for the past 30 years, we can see that actually urbanizations happening in Malaysia. Our population grows, so banyak tempat, I think the cities areas become expand and expands. That's the reason why I think the issue of hutan Kuala. So more green areas are being sacrificed to be developed. So yeah, and somehow these urbanizations make us sort of like lost connections. Tak ada connection, there's no Wi-Fi lah. So that we have what I call it is a near water, far water concepts. Whereas sometimes we actually live near water. We didn't realize that we have a river nearby our areas, but our connection, our emotional, even our spirituals are quite far from water. And for example, contohnya macam tadi lah, and we have the water supplies. And our water supply is not come from direct from the near rivers, but it's come from the furthest rivers. But in the past, zaman dulu kali lah, during our nenek moyang, our great grandparents, their water is come from near water, which is just nearby their river, because basically their river is much cleaner. There's no rubbish, there's no pollutions. Yeah, and you can see here, not just when I show these pictures, what do you think? Is this a river, or is it just a big drain? Can anyone? Yeah, a drain. Okay, someone say drain. How many say drain? Yeah, that's correct. This is actually a river in University Malaya. So basically the reason why these rivers like this is part of channelizing of a river. So basically the main reason why they channelize the river is to prevent or to solve flood issues. So if you notice, the original river that you always see Little Bengkok kan, the curvy meandering rivers, but in urban area they try to straighten it. When they channelize it, they luruskan lah, they straighten it out, so that when it's rain, the water is going to discharge much more faster compared to the meandering rivers. So that's the reason why the engineers zaman dulu lah their mentality and their concepts in solving flood is this kind of methods. So basically, they try luruskan the rivers so that bila hujan, air discharge secepat mungkin. But this what's happening now is they are not solving the flooding issues. And you can see that for the past few years, even though they channelize the rivers, the flash flood still happening. This is because during the heavy rainfalls, the main river, for example, Sungai Kelang, and this is the tributary of Sungai Kelang. Once the main river is sort of like, the water level is quite high. So the tributaries tak boleh, the water from the tributaries cannot enter the sungai, the main rivers. So it will create a back flow. So that's the reason why flash flood happens. So that's usually what happens. And yeah, even when I show this picture to the professors, to the lecturers in the campus, they all say this is a river. This is all drains. Yeah. Because it's big, there's a lot of rubbish, doesn't look even like rivers. But the name of this river is still a river. It calls Sungai Pantai. It's not called Longkang Pantai or Longkang a big river. So if you see this kind of river, please do not sort of like kurangkan penghormatan or something like that, disrespect because of its appearance, but we need to take care of these waterways. So yeah, another thing, what's happening, this is one of the books that my partner and I published a few years ago. We did a compilation of stories about the communities in Sungai Selangor areas, and when urbanization happens, actually we can see the loss of cultural values. So basically, this is during Thaipusam in Kuala Selangor. So during the Thaipusam, usually the Hindus going from Quills, they akan bawa kavadi and go to the rivers. So they have been doing this for years. But so basically they akan pergi ke sungai to take a bath. So for sort of like sucian lah, penyucian. But for the past few years, because of the rivers is not clean, they had to sort of like to replace that air sungai itu tukar kepada air pipe. But they still go to the near river to sort of like it's like a journey to the rivers. But they had terpaksa lah mandi guna air pipe. So we can see the loss of cultural values of because of the urbanizations. And yeah, during the past, the rivers, especially in the peninsula dulu, is used for transportations, but now mostly in Sabah Sarawak, we can see here. Okay, going back to the water source just now. So this is the typical picture of your water source, your raw water source. So it's not. So sometimes people say that our water source should be clear, should be clean. So this is what happened in real life. It's very teh tarik. Sometimes it can be a teh tarik kau. Yeah. This picture is in Sungai Selangor area. So basically, if you are living in Kuala Lumpur, Petaling Jaya or Klang Valley areas, so this is your raw water, the physical looks of your raw water looks like. So it's very, yeah, but that's at the water intake. So before the water intake, usually we are going, there's infrastructures called a garbage lot boom to trap all the trash from disrupting the water plants. So this is one of the lot boom located before the water treatment in Sungai Selangor. So this is the real life, is the reality. If you can see, there's a lot of trash, there's a lot of plastics. It's not just that. What's really concerning is sometimes we can see all these aerosol cans, and you know that aerosol can contain chemicals. Sometimes you can see medicinal products being thrown into the rivers. So basically, you can find anything inside our rivers. So few days ago, last Sundays, we had this sambutan Sungai Sedunila World River Days, and the theme for this Sungai World River Days is waterways in our communities. The waterways dalam bahasa Melayu aliran air, kot tak silap saya, aliran air. So when we talk about waterways, it's not just including our rivers, lakes, stream, but actually it included our longkang itself. So actually our longkang is part of waterways, is part of the journeys of the rivers. So most of the pollutions that come from that's happenings is come from the longkang itself. So you never knows that sometimes your house be discharge pollutants to the rivers. So the concept of longkang sebenarnya ramai orang salah faham. Longkang in Malaysia, the concept or general longkang is to cater rainwater. It's not to cater a polluted or discharged water. So supposedly during normal day, hari tak ada hujan, our longkang should be clean and dry. So that's the best way to keep our waterways, our rivers clean. So if you notice that your longkang at house ada flowing ada air, so you need to do something about it. So basically you the most proper way is you need to connect all the discharge to your system kumbahan. So yeah, what you can do if you are try to explore your nearby rivers or nearby waterways. So it's going to be a difference. So this is one of sungai in the campus in the UM itself. It's quite hidden. Nobody knows about this place, but yeah, it's a different ecosystem, different suasana. And try to get your friends to look. Just go to the river sides and just take a look. What's inside the rivers. Yeah, if you are curious enough, just go down the rivers, and you can see a lot of biodiversity over there. Yeah, Dr. Tara already mentioned about biodiversity. This is some of the biodiversity that located in urban rivers. You can see, yeah, it's not just it's a dead river, but there's a living things. Try to join community groups, or there's a call of Friends of Malaysia, Friends of Rivers, being organized by the governments and the community nearby. So there's a lot of Friends of River in chapters in Malaysia, and yeah, you can take a look. So not just inside, you need to clean the inside the rivers, but you need to take care what's left and right, the riparian areas of the rivers. So this is one of the examples. People always treat the river reserve as a dustbin or tempat buang sampah because nobody knows. But during the rainfall or during hujan atau angin, so everything will go, even though there's fence, but sometimes it going to sort of like masuk juga ke dalam sungai. So you take care. Even try to bring your friends, your families to know your rivers. Yeah, is one of the examples that we conduct in UM. Yeah, and try to treat your longkang as clean as possible. So this is not a good examples. So you need to take care of your longkang too. What's the relationship between sources and the demand side? So basically, you know that our water usage comes from rivers. So our sources is not much, even though that we have many rivers in Malaysia. For example, in Kuala Lumpur itself, why we didn't use Sungai Kelang as a water source? Yeah, but because of water source in Sungai Kelang is not very practical and is very polluted. So that's the reason why we need to sort of like make a big long pipe from Sungai Selangor to Lembah Kelang areas. So that's the reason. So yeah, I'm not so sure whether you know that. Do you know how much water bill that you pay every your parents or anyone in your house pay for every month? Any anggaran that you can give? All right, I think yeah, around 6 ringgit. So wow, okay, that's cheap. That's good. Anyone else? 30 ringgit. Okay, idea. Hundreds. Oh, okay. That's too much. 14. All right. Okay. So it depends on your the water tariff is not standardized. It based on your locations. And if you can see here, the cheapest water ever in Malaysia is Penang, which is this is the amount of water for 1,000 liter. So meaning that 1,000 liter of air, which is equivalent to water 1 meter cubic, is only 22 cents. How much is 1,000 liters? 1,000 liters is about if you have 1.5 liters of mineral water, 1,000 liters is about you have 666 water bottles, and the cost of mineral water is much more expensive compared to your raw water. So and the water tariff also reflect back to the sort of like reflect to the usage. So this is the data of the domestic consumption per capita per day. So this is meaning that how much water a person's use per day based on the locations. And you can see that I think because of I think Penang is the most highest consumption per capita per day, because of this is one of the reasons because of the low water tariff. So that's the reason why. And based on the research conducted by SPAN, which is Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Air Negara, the average Malaysian use is about 201 liters per day. So what SPAN's recommended is about 181 liter capita per day to reduce to 1 to 81. while WHO recommended 160s. But the reason why WHO recommended 160 is they are not taking account the climax, the tropical climax. So basically, what WHO recommended is just secara general lah. It's generalizations. So basically, we need to sort of like to reduce our Malaysian, all of us, we need to reduce our water from 201 to 181. So what we can do to Jima, yeah, I'm not saying that every one of us here need to be like this little girl, Greta. Sometimes what we need to do is just simple as changing your lifestyle, your gaya hidup. So when you see there's a water flowing in your drain, it's a clear water, try to be curious, try to follow your longkang or where's the waters, and try to, macam tadi tak ada orang kata 100, she paid about hundreds for water bills. So is there any leakage actually happening at your house or your campus or your schools? So try to be curious and try to be like sort of like detective, and try to be creative. For example, if you're I remember my grandma used to sort of like bila basuh air, when she washed the rice. So after washing the rice, so air daripada basuh nasi tu dia akan simpan. She said that there's lots of nutrients, so she will ask me to sort of like siram the plants, and yeah, it's somehow the orchid where I siram is very blooming. When we talk about rainwater harvesting, you don't have to sort of like set up a big sophisticated rainwater harvesting. You can just put a pail outside and to collect water. There's one device called Timble. It's very simple device where it controls the amount of water keluar from the taps. Yeah, you can sort of like, if you are using acorns, try to collect the water from the acorns. Yeah, as simple as try to be creative. You don't have to spend money actually to save water. So when we talk about SDG, about water, actually is all SDG is interconnected in watersheds. So it's not just when we talk about rivers, it's not just about SDG 6 or SDG 14, but when we talk about water, we need to look into a watershed concept, where everything is part of it and interconnected. So, there's this handbook that actually we just published with Ais Langor. Fazli also part of this team, so you can have a look. You can scan the QR code and download these handbooks, or maybe this handbook can give you ideas for your mini projects after this. And that's all. Thank you very much. So this is my emails, or if you need, you have any questions or you need my help, so just contact me through my emails. That's all. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Affan, for very. I think we learn a lot about. You did mention about the first thing first. We need to know our river, because tak kenal maka tak cintakan. So kita kena kenal dulu sungai kita. And then you did mention, you shared about the new water and far water concept. I think it's very relevant to us because due to urbanization, rapid urbanization, we seem to lost connection with our rivers, and so we lost a lot of cultural values, religious values, and so on and so forth. And then Affan also shared about the real picture of our raw water sources. So, so for those who, for first timer looking at that photo, so that's the real truth, okay, about our raw water source. Then Affan also shared about the main function of our drain or longkang is actually to cater for rainwater and not pollutant. Okay, so remember about that. And then Malaysia average water consumption is about 201 liter per day. So we need to look back on and reflect back on our daily water consumption to get to the 181 liter per capita per day. And then Affan also shared about the most simplest way to be a water warrior is change your lifestyle. Okay, look at your lifestyle and change it. And then try to look at is there any leakages for those who are already paying a lot of in terms of your monthly utility bills. So look at it and then be creative about it because solutions is not just about technology, but sometimes it's more about our behavior. Okay, so thank you, Affan, for your session. So we're now gonna take a few minutes break. But before that, can we have may we request everyone to switch on your camera? We would like to have a quick group photo. Okay, looks good, everyone. Give a bit more time for others to switch on your camera. Hold on, yeah. Okay, I think that's about it. I mean, okay. Irene, are you ready over there?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So put up your best smile. It's gonna be put up in our report soon. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Do you get it, Irene?
Yes, yes. One more.
Okay, and then we move on to the next slide. We have another group of people over there.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay, and then another freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Irene.
Okay. Got it.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. We're gonna have a quick 2 minutes break, so you can just make your coffee or tea or something, and then we will return in 2 minute time. Okay. So we already have our third speakers, Ms. Farhana, with us. Thank you.
With all the to share our experiences on the topic education for sustainable development. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamualaikum, and good morning, everyone. My name is Farhana, and I'm the representative of Imarah Eco-Friends Surau APIUM, or IEF in short. So, before we get into the detail, let's start with an wait. How do I share this? Okay. Okay, so before we get into the detail, let's start with an obvious point. What is education for sustainable development? So education for sustainable development, or ESD in short, is recognized as a key enabler of all SDGs, and its purpose is to transform the society. So this SDG 4, quality of education, target 4.7, and its implementation is urgent. So how do we do it? By ensuring all the learners acquire knowledge and skills to, to promote sustainable development via ESD and sustainable lifestyle. So you know that all the youth can actually be introduced to sustainability and global citizenship issues, not only in school, but also in clubs, in student associations, volunteering works, and other activities as well. So why is it so important? So like I mentioned earlier, it links to other SDGs as well. So to capture the transformative aspirations of the new global agenda. So hence we understood that ESD as a whole is to empower everyone, or to empower action takers to, make critically informed decisions and to ensure, economic, social, environmental, and cultural sustainability. So throughout this session, you can expect to learn from Imarah Eco Friends, our educational approaches, and how IEF has successfully incorporated education for sustainable development into our core action plan. All right, so now you all might be wondering, right? So why out of all places or corners in APIUM, how Surau fell within the scope of education for sustainable development? So let me tell you a little bit about Surau, or mosque, or anything, or originating from the Arabic word masjid that has been around for centuries, is actually a place where all Muslims gather and worship, and it has played a significant role or part in education in the early Islamic period. So, okay, so the mosque has served many purposes, and has been the most critical institution in Muslims' lives. So it serves as a center for the Muslim community, a place for worship, a place for political conversation, education and learning center. So as it a place where all the Muslim gathers, many programs like educational and social events are held under one roof. So we see here how Surau is actually an excellent center for education. So Surau, could also play a role to raise awareness on sustainable lifestyle, which I'll share later. Surau, could also play a, role to raise awareness on Muslims' responsibilities and duties to promote sustainability, and especially when SDGs actually parallel or in line with that of Islamic teachings and values. For example, Islam teaches us not to overspend or not to, exceed our consumption. So that's actually in line with that of SDG 12, responsible consumption, right? So we want to, develop and engage an ecologically literate Muslim community by translating the language of activism into more practical aspects of people's life. All right. Okay. So seeing this urgency of educational for sustainable development and the youth are falling behind of what we call it a trend, IEF, or Imarah Eco Friends Surau APIUM Club, was founded by a group of researchers under the Imarah Green Project. So that's in line with the implementation of the EcoCampus project. The researchers intend to, make Surau APIUM and its community a focus for the ESD outside of the lecture room, or in other words, practical education in the field. So these groups of researchers believe that the idea of running a Imarah Green Project at Surau APIUM will be able to, deliver environmental sustainability education to APIUM community in particular and outside community in general. So who are Imarah Eco Friends Surau APIUM? Who are we? So we are the volunteers and the demonstrators that have been trained by Imarah Green Project research team to, carry out the implementation of the project through community engagement programs on the campus and selected mosques in Federal Territories of Malaysia, and as well as active involvement in eco-friendly activities at Surau APIUM. So to sum up, IEF, or Imarah Eco Friends, is an output from the Imarah Green Project, and be noted that all the data shared later is a result of the knowledge transfer and the community engagement process by the Imarah Green Project research team. So moving on to the next part. Okay. So I'll discuss on the topic of education for sustainable development in IF action plan. So as you can see on the screen, it's education for sustainable development for IF members and the community as a whole. All right, next slide. Okay, so to promote sustainable development, IF members are equipped with the knowledge and skills necessary, skills needed by integrating sustainability issues, in particular those enshrined in the 17 SDGs such as climate change, responsible consumption, among others, into all kinds of learning. Okay, so I'm giving some examples of knowledge transfer done through events such as talks and webinars. And do note that these webinars are also open for public. So as you can see here, the topics are quite interesting ones because firstly, it tackles the Muslim crowd to, attend the events, especially if related to the roles played by Muslims to, contribute to sustainability and how Islam and its teachings encourage its followers to do so. So for your information, some of the events are also organized by IEF members themselves as a product of their learning experience from the capacity building training that we receive. So next is, committee establishment. So I have mentioned earlier, right? So we carry out the implementation of the project through community engagement and active involvement in eco-friendly activities at Surau APIUM. So just like any other club and organization, we are formed of 4 main units, which is recycling unit or recycling center unit, urban garden, destillery shop, and task force. So each unit has its own role or JD/job description. So as a learning outcome that we received earlier, these units are responsible for empowering people to take action and to actively contribute to societal and environmental transformation. So how do we do it? And okay, so as you can see on the screen, recycling unit is responsible to educate people on waste separation, selling recycling stuff to vendors, and implement some DIY projects, for example. So recycling center at APIUM during the time before we went on remote learning has successfully integrated sustainable lifestyles within the community. So every year, we garnered tons of recycled items to be sold to vendors and actually made some profits of it. So, however, since we are forced to go online, most of our programs are designed to be home-based and remote activities. So nevertheless, IF, under the supervision of the Imarah Green Project, has held a campaign called Zero Waste Challenge. So Zero Waste Challenge was organized by Recycling Center Unit on 2020 to 2021 using social media platform. So, and it was a successful one. So the purpose of this program was not only to, educate people on proper recycling and waste management practices, but also to encourage them to take action by participating in this challenge. So this year only, we have garnered a total of 543 kg and almost 800 ringgit. That's quite a number. So the same goes with the campaign carried out by Recycling Unit, which is recycling used cooking oil. We demonstrate to the public how they can achieve sustainability so that they can contribute to the environmental transformation later on. So next up is, I'm going to share some other green practices in APIUM. So we have Destillery Shop, which is a real and legit shop located at APIUM. So Destillery Shop is basically a thrift shop selling pre-loved and used items and to raise awareness to everyone each time that items, we keep clothes out of landfills and reduce chemical pollution. It is easy and sustainable. However, during remote learning, we went online. So as you can see here, LS has also featured in Wilayahku newspaper. Right, moving on to the next part. Surau APIUM, has also several green infrastructures, but I'm going to share about water and energy conservation. So you might already know that water and energy consumption is high at Mas or Surau. Especially, you know that Islam's five daily prayer times at dawn, midday, afternoon, sunset, and evening mean that the worshippers tend to flow in and out of the mosque all day long, so the water flows and the energy stays on throughout. So we take this opportunity to encourage people to change their behavior and patterns to practice or to introduce them to green practices and sustainability. So as a matter of fact, at Surau APIUM, there are 11 tap waters or 11 treated rainwater using rainwater harvesting system and 33 water efficient taps by Water Warriors UM. Thank you. So it is a green choice and perfectly fine to use for ablution or wudu. And for your information, for those who might not be sure what is ablution, ablution is the act of washing parts of the body performed by Muslim before prayer. So not only that, we have also carried out a wudu demonstration by the research team to educate people on how to reduce water consumption in line with that of Sustainable Development Goals and Islamic teaching itself. So here we employ interactive, project-based, learner-centered pedagogy, learner-centered, and transform all aspects of learning environment through a whole institution approach to education for sustainable development to enable learners, or enable the APIUM community to live what they learn and learn what they live. Okay, so last but not least, we want to enable achievement of the SDGs towards a more sustainable world. So this calls for partnerships among stakeholders to achieve this goal. So Imarah Green Project, just now I mentioned, has done this by strengthening the means of implementation among stakeholders, means of implementation, and revitalize this partnership for sustainable development through Eco Bazaar. So this event is a joint venture between Jabatan Agama Islam Jawi, Jabatan Agama Islam Persekutuan Jawi, and Masjid Ikhlasiah Bukit Kerinci committee members. So with the theme Pre-Love Raya. So it was held in the mosque compound. So you might be wondering, what is Eco Bazaar? So it is an event to cultivate or educate the public on sustainable lifestyle practice through the prudent use of natural resources. So this event is based on the concept of eco market, or here we call it Eco Bazaar. So the practice is, or the method is by donating used goods for reuse. Okay, so donating the used goods for the reuse of the target group, so that the target group can get the donated items with a maximum payment of RM1 or 1 to 5 ringgit, or they can bring along 1 kilogram of used cooking oil to get 1 free item. So you get it? Okay, it's an actually interesting concept here. So the items marketed for the Pre-Love Raya event were from used items that can be used during the festival, including men's and women's clothing, children's clothing, other accessories such as handbags, shoes, Malaysia buttons, and many more. So the next one is, another similar event was held back then in 2019, but with the theme Back to School. So the main activity of this event is to distribute the donations of second-hand goods to the surrounding population. So donated items consist of used clothes, books, children's toys, stationery and school bags, and there are also new items obtained from the outside donation. Also involved in this event were the contributors from the NGO Eco Free Market who participated in the success of this event. So that's basically a wrap up of experiences from Imarah Eco Friends, or IF in short, on education for sustainable development. So I hope that this sharing session will be an eye-opener for all the youth change makers out there to promote sustainable lifestyles and raise awareness on how important SDG 4 Target 4.7, and take this opportunity in this webinar to network with other youths as well, to cross-pollinate your ideas and ultimately gain new perspectives. So thank you once again for your attention, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Farhana, for your insightful sharing. I think it's very interesting to learn that our religious institution or place could be an excellent center for education for sustainable development, especially for among the community itself, whether it's youth or the elderly and so on. And then you did mention about ecologically literate Muslim community. I think that's a very way forward that we need to focus on, because by changing the mindset and behavior of our community, I think we can work towards that. And then you did also mention about the importance of the work that has been done impressively by IEF, actually to translate the language of activism into real action. So I think that's wonderful works being put up by all the great teams at IEF. I think, yeah, this is the platform for you guys to network, right? to learn from each other. Okay, it's not about we are trying to be the best, but I think it's all about learning from one another. Okay, thank you, Nofina. All right, next, our last but not least, but very interesting topics. We have our fourth and last speaker, Dr. Maziah from Faculty of Medicine, She will share with us about esports and youth. Let me introduce her. Dr. Maziah received her MBBS degree from Malacca Manipal Medical College in 2011, followed by her PhD from University of Malaya and University of Sydney in 2018. She underwent her medical training in University of Malaya Medical Center from 2012 to 2014 and pursued project management and entrepreneurship training a year later in Keio University. So her expertise focuses on serious games and exert gaming. You will learn a lot about that later on. For exercise and sports adaptations, she's keen on public health management for individuals with disadvantages and enhancing holistic empowerment of youth towards the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR or 4.0. And then Dr. Maziah is affiliated with numerous serious games programs built for long-term sustainability, cost-efficient financing, and effective health management. So the floor is yours, Dr. Maziah.
Great, thank you, Jifadli. Thank you. My name is Maziah. I'm from Faculty of Medicine, Department of Physiology, University of Malaya. So I'll be presenting on a topic which I think a lot of youth can relate to, and it's a topic pretty much, a lot of youth are now interested in, and it's about. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so it's about it's about esports, exergaming. But since we've been going through the COVID-19 related pandemic and also national lockdowns, I understand that a lot of events were cancelled, and a lot of people aren't able to exercise as regularly as they would want to. So for the project for 2020, the program that I'm actually doing is on home-based exergaming training effects, which is especially conducted during the COVID-19 related lockdowns. So actually, a lot of people will ask, what is exergaming? So a lot of people are familiar with exergaming in the sense that they see. Can you see the picture that I'm on the upper top right? You can see a lot of e-gamers or esports esports players. They actually sit down on the table, and then they look at the monitor, and then they just play whatever esports they are playing right now. And the most common ones are, I would say, Call of Duty. I'm not really familiar, but I would say Call of Duty, League of Legends, Street Fighter, Tekken. Sorry, I'm not really familiar. What I am offering instead is a type of video game that actually requires active bodily movements. This is the key, active body movements. If you can see on the picture on the lower right side, you actually have to stand up, or you can sit down, but then you have to do active bodily movements for you to control the game. And usually the esports actually replicate conventional sports such as tennis, boxing, even volleyball, table tennis, bowling, and whatnot. And it's played with your own bodily movements that is detected by the camera and the controllers. Okay. So why I'm very adamant on esports exegaming is because the ACSM or all international guidelines like World Health Organization, UNESCO, the American College of Sports Science, they recommend you conduct everyone between the ages of 18 to 65 years old to conduct at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity or 75 minutes per week of vigorous intensity exercise. Okay, so may I know whether there's anyone, sorry, never mind. I'll just continue and ask questions later. And then you also have some strength training, repetitions, and also joint motion flexibility. So these are the exercise recommendations. And I really doubt that all the youths in Malaysia actually fulfill these recommendations. I think it's about 11 or 15% would only fulfill these recommendations. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so when I looked at what are the barriers to exercise, especially during the pandemic, there are a lot of issues that they've raised up. This is especially focused on youth and those who are in the B40 group. So most of them are saying things like physical limitations or social environmental factors, like they don't have any exercise equipment at home. There's no space for an exercise equipment, or there's no space to even exercise at home because they live in a small apartment and shared by 6 other people. And then to top it up with the pandemic, gyms and training centers are usually closed. You're not allowed to go out, no outdoor activities allowed. There's also personal characteristics that comes into play, like you don't have any motivation to exercise when you're doing it alone. You're used to playing basketball or soccer with friends, and you can't do any of those if you're on a lockdown. And some of them actually need a trainer or a coach to teach them how, or to guide them how to exercise. And also there's always the economic policies like MCO related mandates and the prolonged national lockdowns. So another issue why this is the gap between male and female athletes. Like why, if you can see, athletes, most of them females, as they grow older, they don't intend to become athletes. Very rare. I think it's around 2 to 3% saja go on to become female athletes. But the majority of male professional players, like the athletes, they still continue becoming athletes even though they are older as they grow older. And one of the reasons is because of the pay gap. Now, if you can see, usually male professional players receive around 15 to 1,000% more salaries or prize money than female athletes. So that's one of the reasons also why they don't feel like they want to continue doing sports or continue as an professional athlete. And also in Malaysia, the opportunity for females to earn equal pay is always hampered by a lot of physiological, like, females are usually, they have less endurance, they can't perform as much or as powerful as male counterpart. And there's always this perceptive and religious boundaries. When you have kids, people will say, you jadi housewife je lah, duduk rumah, tak payah nak main-main kat luar jadi athletes. These are common feedbacks that I get from female athletes. So their family members are not supportive enough. And also you have religious boundaries. So if you see sports like swimming, gymnastics, beach volleyball, it's the outfits that they have to wear are very revealing. And because Malaysia is an Islamic country, we have those religious boundaries that come into play. And the final is the segregation of masculine versus feminine type of sports. Hardly, or I can say never, you can see a female boxer or a female beach volleyball player in Malaysia. And you will never find a netball player who's male. So those are the type of segregation between types of sports you can see in Malaysia. So if you can see, these are the sources that from US, which is considered very equality based lah. The gap is still high. So you can see basketball, golf, soccer, softball, or baseball, all the males are leading in terms of pay gap. But you can see that at tennis, the gap is not as big as the other types of sports. And this is one of the reasons is because of thanks to Billie Jean King, which is she was a tennis player based in US, and she really tried to equalize the pay between tennis players in males and females. And you can watch the movie Battle of the Sexes. You can see here on the right side, this is the story, and you can watch on how equal pay was fought by her and her team. Okay. And for esports exegaming, the thing is, you have three types. You have cooperative team play and you have competitive play. And for my esports exegaming this time around, I do not segregate between gender, I do not segregate between age, and I do not segregate between those with and without a form of disability. So you can see if it's a cooperative play here, I'm just going to play a short movie of this. So you can see that this is a beach volleyball game. So you can see a person who is on a wheelchair is playing with a person who is able-bodied. So there's no segregation between types of disability. And also you can see that competitively, you can see that competitively, a person who's on a wheelchair is able to fight against a person who's able-bodied. And I would dare to say that the person on a wheelchair actually won this competition. And then you also have a female exegame player fighting against a male exegame player on equal terms. So there's no segregation between prize monies or pay salaries and whatnot. So it's equal. And it's also part of the Sustainable Development Goals of reduced inequalities. And the main objectives of my program is to assess the effects of home-based exegaming on the players' physical activity levels. Because if you can see, when you're in a max MCO lockdown, you're at home most of the time, you don't have an exercise equipment at home, their physical activity levels drops to about 5 max hours per week. Now, bear in mind that the national average is around 22 max per week. So that's a lot of reduction. And also I want to know that what are the experiences and perceptions of exegaming on the players? So since this is kind of like a new modality for exercise, I doubt people actually find, they're actually familiar with esports exegaming. And the equipments that I use, currently is the PlayStation 3. Now, I know a lot of people who are like esports exegaming, why use PlayStation 3? It's kind of backdated, but bear in mind that the move system is actually quite advanced in using the PlayStation 3. And I have not come across a very good move-based or move-required esports exegame that utilizes the PlayStation 4 and also PlayStation 5. And also for the Xbox Kinect and also the Nintendo Wii, those are not really good systems that can actually perform well when you're hosting an esports exegaming competition. So I'm using PS3, so the price to procure the entire set is around 1,800 lah. So I know it's kind of expensive, but if you can appreciate what the values of what esports exegaming using the PlayStation 3 can bring, then I think this is a good investment to actually procure. So the program is to perform a home-based training program and also online virtual tournament. So if you can see that these are the participants that I have around 13 right now who's doing a home-based executive program, and they're training for their online tournament program. Okay, so it's conducted within the comforts of their own home, online, and they feel personally when I interviewed them for their feedbacks, they feel like this is something that they can empower themselves and they improve their physical activity levels and also their metabolic performance. Okay. So we have another one here who's also training in front of the TV. So this is not just something that is enjoyable, but it is also beneficial for your health and also can improve your social gameplay skills. Okay, so most of them actually play in their living rooms, but some of them also do play within their own bedroom. So they have their own small TV in the room, and it only takes around I think around 2.5 meters is enough, 2.5 by 2.5 meter space area. So you also have those training in a center-based. So social operating procedures, the SOP for COVID-19 related, so they're not that close to each other, also are observed during the trainings. I'm just gonna play a short clip of them, how they play. So there's no contact, it's not a contact sport. So it's perfect for COVID-19 pandemic related events. And then we have another one here who played in his living room, also in the living room. And you can see that the performance that they did is actually very vigorous, or the least is moderate in intensity, which fulfills the ACSM guidelines. Okay, so also another one who's playing in his living room. Okay, so my quantitative findings from this program is that we saw a total physical activity level increase by about 5 times from its original score. And the enjoyment was relatively high throughout the training period. So it's around 90 to 98% of the total score. So they really enjoyed it. And the exgaming sports actually provide them moderate to vigorous intensity, which they actually played more than 150 minutes per week, because in order to achieve their training and also to win the tournament, the online tournament, they really have to train, because it's not something that, you know, you can play and then you can win but not train. So you can see these are my top scorers. So all of them, you can see their high scores are very high, and they are able to achieve all the stars in the level. So they achieve everything. So these are my top scorers. Okay, and bear in mind, these are wheelchair users, and they actually defeated those who are able-bodied, playing and standing. Okay, so this is a remarkable achievement for me. And also some of the qualitative findings I found in the interview, they found that it's motivating, engaging, and they were able to maintain their motivation to play even at home with playing against the CPU AI. The exagame console was easy to set up and space efficient, so because it doesn't take a lot of space as compared to treadmill and indoor bicycles. Also, they feel like there's a lapse of time. So when they were playing the esports exagaming, they did not feel like they were exercising at all. And sometimes the word that they mention is oh, saya dah main 1 jam. So they don't realize it because it's so fun and it's very engaging. So they enjoyed playing with someone because you're on COVID-19 lockdown rather than exercising alone. So at least they get to play with someone, even though if it's CPU AI. So there's a like intriguing factor for them, and it motivates them to continue on playing. Okay. Oh, sorry. So these are the SDG, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that are aligned with my program, which is number 1 is to reduce inequalities. As I've mentioned before, it's to reduce the pay gap, to provide inclusivity when it comes to esports exagaming, not being synonymous with males only, so it's just females and males. You also have the training workshops and exercise courses when you train them home-based. So this is to improve their good health and well-being. So also to promote awareness on the existence of exagaming and also its benefits. And this is to align with the industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So there's no infrastructure or industry yet for esports exagaming. So that is one of the reasons why it remains as PlayStation 3. There's no prolongation towards PS4 and PS5 because there's no market, or people are not aware of the feasibility or possibility of expanding it as a type of esports exagaming. So what I intend to do is, in terms of industry, I want to design more games, adapt existing games that we have to support those who have different needs or disabilities, and also engage active exercise even though you're at home and you're consistently in a lockdown, motivate adherence, improve their physical activity levels, and cultivate fun in exercise. Because some of the people who are really sedentary, they associate exercise with something boring or very tiring, not fun at all. So these are the barriers. Also, I want to promote exagaming at home and gender equality. These are the social environmental factors. And also, if we can, economic policy, esports exagaming for Olympics, and also training facility. So this is a little bit of the ad that I want to blast to all the participants. We have conducted a lot of exagaming tournament leagues, but these are the main ones. So we are currently trying to encourage more people who take up the online tournament. So you can register, and I'll just post it in the chat box if you're interested. But you have to have your own PlayStation 3 and the Move controllers and the game. Okay, so it's an esports exagaming tournament. We're doing a call. So the last date of registration is this weekend. Okay, that is all. Any questions?
Anything else, Doctor?
Tak ada dah. Sekejap. I'm trying to not share. Can't find the button.
Let's stop share.
Yeah. How do I stop sharing? Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
okay.
I found
Okay.
that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Maziah. It's very interesting to learn about the term exergaming for esports and for youth. So that means I was wondering. I mean, it's really interesting to learn that there is still pay gap based on gender between male and female athletes happening all around the world, which includes Malaysia as well. And then exergaming, I think it's a fun, safe, and engaging alternatives to physical sport, especially during this lockdown or MCOs and whatnot. So, and another interesting fact that you shared, that we actually are required to be at least in a moderate what they call what is the term that they use?
Intensity, moderate.
Yes, moderate intensity, about 150 minutes per week, which about 2 to 3 times exercise per week. So I think it's very interesting to learn about that. Okay, without further delay, we would like to open we would like to have all the 4 speakers to switch on your camera. We're going to have a Q&A session. Hold on, now put all the speakers to spotlight. All right. Let's go to the first speaker, Dr. Sarah. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I saw one question just now.
Would
Right?
you like
For
to
me?
answer that?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
It's from Pei Yong Xin, right? So yeah, she's saying about like what is the right choice to make when it comes to handling the problems, for example, hunger problem. Yeah. So just now I talked about making the right choices, right? Like as much as we have our say in making choices in our own life, we can't really control certain things in life as well, right? We must learn how to cope with it to survive. So talking about the right choice is always involving the survival of the mankind by the right step to ensure the survival of mankind is always the trickiest one. For instance, will deforestation ensure the survival of mankind, or can by empowering the economic sector will ensure the survival of mankind? So we shall go back to our moral value on how we give consideration to the world we are living in. Some places may need to sacrifice their natural resources due to the lack of economic strength, but some places or countries may already have a strong economic sector, so they do not have to degrade more of their own natural resources. And the SDG itself, for example, have 17 goals, right? So all of the goals bear different weight based on the needs of a specific country or a place. For example, in a developed country, they may want to strive in SDG goal number 6, 13, 14, and 15, while for developing countries, they might be eyeing on the goal number 3, 4, 8, 9, and 11. So different country, different place, different priority on the SDG and different choices. Yeah, that's from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sarah. Let's move on to our second speaker, Mr. Affan. We have a question from Imarah. Is there any other root problems on why water cuts happen occasionally in Selangor besides river channel pollution? And then are there any technologies that can be widened in in Malaysia to solve water consumption issues as well as pollution issues?
All right. Thank you for the question. So another roots problems that usually happens in Selangor is pipe pecah lah. Kebanyakannya usually bila tak ada air, there's a maintenance due to the pipe pecah. The reason why they need to fix it as fast as possible is to reduce non-revenue water. So if they didn't fix the pipes in Kelang Valley area in Selangor or Kuala Lumpur generally quite old, so they need to be replaced. So that's the reason why sometimes it's not because of the pollutions. Sometimes the water disruption is caused by the infrastructure itself. That's the reason why there's so much happening water cuts, water disruption in Selangor. Are there any technologies that can be widened in Malaysia to solve water consumptions? So there's a simple tools I don't have here. It's actually a simple device. It's a tiny disc, sort of like it's very simple, kecil je, and you put inside the aerator dekat tap, dekat pilih air tu, and it somehow it will reduce the water when you buka. It will reduce the water flow. So that's one of I think this the cheapest technologies that's currently have available in market right now. So if you want that, maybe you can just drop your email. I can explain more about the timbal itself. All right.
All right, that's it. Mr. Affan. Okay. I just want one good question for Mr. Affan. Do you think Ais Selangor, for example, they're catering for us? So do you think they've done their job in terms of educating the public? Because people keep blaming them, whenever things happen. But most of the time, like you said, it's because of pipe pecah and things like that. But people always blame them. So what do you think? Why does that thing happen?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer, because we as a people are usually our mentality is we pay the service, and the service, some people, maybe normal people say that the cost of the service is quite expensive already, so we need a sort of like better service. So kita dah bayar, so Ais Selangor should menjalankan tanggungjawab dengan sepenuh bertanggungjawab lah kiranya, and they need to fulfill that. But in reality, it's different when you in the industry, in the field of water, or the issue itself, when you talk to the engineers on the ground, it's not as easy as that. Sometimes pipe pecah tu bukan kita tahu. Sometimes it can happen anytime. It's because of the water pressure or something like that. It's unpredictable, and also depends on, because sometimes, for example, Ais Selangor hired a contractor. If the contractor is not honest in doing their work, the people itself still jadi mangsa jugalah. It's not just and Ais Selangor dapat a bad reputation. So we have this mentality, whereas nak duit, we need to create a problem. So that's one of the mentality of the capitalism.
I see.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So
Alright.
that's very besar topic lah.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you, Affan. Let's move on to our third speaker. I have a question. You did mention, Farhana did mention about the role of Surau or Mosque as an excellence center for education for sustainable development. So do you think IEF or Imarah Green Project teams are ready to embark on another pathway which is more holistic? I mean, like engaging with other religious institutions such as churches, KUIL, and so on. So are you guys prepared for that? Farhana, are you there? Maybe there's some connection problems. We will hold on to that question. So we would like to move on to our fourth speaker, Dr. Maziah. We have a list of questions here. Number one, are there any efforts to make Azure gaming more available for low-income families, or maybe the B40, people who do not afford to proper equipment?
Yes, so my current program, right, which is under the UMCAS right now, specifically targets B40 groups. But unfortunately, the main barriers to them is misuse. So when I send them their PlayStation 3 to their homes, they don't use it to train in the esports exagaming. They either use it to play, you know, the normal sedentary video games like, I don't know, Second ke, whatever, Call of Duty ke, all those not associated with esports exagaming. So it's very common in Malaysia, so it doesn't surprise me at all. At least I've tried. So that's one issue. Another issue is because usually B40 income group only has one TV in their room. So this is the TV they use to study for education, for online education. This is the TV they use for as entertainment, to watch the news. So there's a bit of this, how do I say, overlapping of use of the TV in the family. So that is one of the other major barriers that I can find from the feedbacks. So
I see. All right. Next one, Dr. Maziah as well. Do you have any plans to promote Azure gaming to make it commercial, I mean, to commercial sector?
Yes, so I am currently working with two other companies who are developing serious games. So one of them is based in Singapore. The other one is based in Australia, Melbourne. So there are no plans indefinitely to actually market these yet. We are just simply adapting the video games per se to fit those with either disabilities or to perform better, how do I say, performance feedback kind of thing. So this the user input experience. But to market this, it actually requires a lot of funding. So it's not something that can be done on a research level, but should also be collaborated with, and the funding should get from major players of the game world, such as I can see Sony PlayStation developing it on their own, and we can collaborate on their own. But the thing is, they want to see whether there's a lot of market or not. Currently, there's a lot of market for the traditional, conventional esports, like I've mentioned before. I think it's Call of Duty, like League of Legends and whatnot. There are no market yet available for esports exagaming. So basically, this is the reason is players, they don't want to exert themselves, because if you play sports, you buang tenaga. That's what they said, buang tenaga. They want to play the usual esports yang memalaskan diri, duduk atas kursi, tak gerak, just their fingers moving. So that is one of the issues.
Thank you.
It's a little bit more about the mindset itself. Okay. Then last question to Dr. Maziah, does it open the e-sport gaming equipment to more modern technology like VR games can increase participation in Azure gaming and e-sport industry itself?
Okay, so for VR technology, the main issue is health, because VR technology has been related to a lot of side effects like dizziness, syncope. I don't know whether you know syncope or not. It's just sudden loss of consciousness after playing prolonged bouts of virtual reality. The main reason is because your eye can't focus as well when you're in a virtual reality environment. So that is one of the side effects that we do not want to associate ourselves, because if people know that, oh, if you're playing for prolonged periods with this VR technology, you're going to get all these side effects. So it's something of a bad repo. So that's why we do not intend to use virtual reality headsets.
I think I'm gonna reduce my my engagement with the my VR application after this. All right, that's interesting. Let's get back to our third speaker, Ms. Farhana, are you there? Are you back? Or maybe there's still some connection problems. Okay, we're back with Dr. Sarah. One question from Sanjeev Kumar. Do you view the deep ecology concept or approach, which is ecocentric approach, which is ecocentric viewing all life forms to have intrinsic value as a solution for overcoming biodiversity loss? If so, would it be practical for implementation or incorporation into our laws and policies in Malaysia? Deep ecology.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sanjeev Kumar. It is a very good question, a very good point about talking about deep ecology. So deep ecology is actually somehow a recent branch, okay, of ecological philosophy, or we call it ecosophy, that considers humankind as an integral part of its environment. So it's the deep ecology core principle is they claim that, like humanity, the living environment as a whole has the same right to live and to flourish, right? So it focuses on our moral obligation to protect the environment, and is a radical idea that all life has a right to exist, that no one species is more important than another. So this is and what we call ecocentrism philosophy, and it entirely rejects anthropocentrism. So deep ecology actually has 8 principles. So one of it involves biodiversity, and biodiversity contributes to this value. And the what we call deep ecologists, an ecology who practice this deep ecology, they usually have always want to establish the right of non-human life to preserve the biodiversity of any region. And deep ecologists sometimes will organize workshops to grow ecological awareness among the human population, to make them environmental friendly, and to heal our relationship with the with the earth. So back to the question, yes, I think that, let me see the question. So I think that it is a solution for overcoming biodiversity loss, of course, but will it be practical for implementation into our laws and policies? I think everyone would know that it's quite a big, sensitive question, but I hope by coming up with this topic, with this point about deep ecology, people will be more aware, and then maybe someday some implementation will be done into our laws and policies in Malaysia. Yeah. Thank you, Sanjeev, for the very great question.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. That's very deep. Okay. All right. Let's get back to our third speaker, Ms. Farhana. Did you get my question previously?
I'm sorry, my connection was unstable just now, so I did not hear clearly.
Okay. The question is, you guys have done impressive work at the Surau APIUM community, and as well as our neighboring community. Do you think Surau, as an example of an excellent center for education for sustainable development, can be replicated, or are you guys, are the IEF or Imarah Green Project teams are ready to engage and go beyond Muslim community? Maybe we're going to talk about, we're going to share it with our friends from the churches, the quill, and so on. Are you guys prepared for that?
Okay, thank you for the question. So actually, we see no problem to collaborate with other religion institution as well, because in fact, as a matter of fact, in our previous programs also, we actually have received so many participation from other people from diverse backgrounds and status as well. So we actually, even though it sounds like, oh, it's a Surau club, it's not actually exclusive for Muslims community as only, but actually Surau is just as a place for, as a center to spread awareness to the Muslim community, but we are actually an inclusive club, that opens for all to participate, and we are, open to any collaboration or partnership also. So I guess that answers the question.
Later on, if you guys would like to explore any potential collaboration, you guys can contact Farhana about this ESD initiative. All right, another one for Farhana. What is the most challenging scenarios that you are facing within the IEF in promoting this Imarah Eco-Friends initiative to, especially to the Muslim community? What are the most challenging scenarios that you guys face? Maybe there's another connection problem. All right. While waiting, we would like to open the floors to all the participants. If you'd like to pose questions directly to any of our speakers, we have about 5 to 10 minutes. You can switch on your mic and camera. Anyone? Like, not easy to have all these speakers in one platform because they're busy. No questions? Is everyone good? Are you guys? Oh, another question from Farhana, but she's not here. Maybe she will answer later. Okay. So I think that's about it because it's already 12:30. We'd like to respect everyone's time. Okay. On behalf of the organizers, Cares, RC Central Semenanjung, Sustainable Development Space Network, we'd like to thank. Let us join hands together to thank all our 4 great speakers joining us today. We have Dr. Abdul Razak from Faculty of Science. We have Mr. Affan Nasaruddin from Water Warriors and Sekitar, and then we have Ms. Farhana from Imarah Eco-Friends Surau APIUM, and then we have Dr. Maziah on from Faculty of Medicine on exogaming. So I think you guys are wonderful. All the job that you guys have done actually can be done. It can be reflected within our sustainable lifestyle. I think most of the inputs are very interesting for us to reflect on our actions, on our daily actions. Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you so much to all the speakers. You may now leave because I think you guys have other things to do after this. We will proceed with the pop quiz 2 for all the participants. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Maziah, Dr. Sarah, Mr. Affan, and Ms. Farhana. Ms. Farhana, you have some question. You will answer it through email, yeah?
Okay. When should I answer the question?
The question is in a chat box. We will direct it to you later.
All right.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now can we have Irene to share the pop quiz link?
Wait a minute.
Are you good, Irene? Okay. So you have about 15 minutes to complete the pop quiz 2. Yeah. So for participants, for our observers, you can also try out this pop quiz if you like. And then after this pop quiz, we will share the link for our attendance and feedback form. Okay. Hold on, yeah. Ms. Irene will share the link in the chat box.
Can you guys see the QR code in the screen? Jifat?
Yes. Thanks, Nazmi, for sharing the link. To our registered youth participants, remember you have to fill up and complete three forms, which is number one is pop quiz 2, and then number 2 would be the attendance that I just shared just now, and then another one would be the post self-assessment, compulsory post self-assessment form. Yeah, but for our observers, which is non-youth participants, to collect your certificate, you can just fill up the attendance form. Okay,